and hello good people of the internet. It is I, Tommy Kelly. This is Adventures in Woo Woo. I come to you from the wonderful Ravensdale Forest. I'm a bit sweaty today because I had to hike up here. I'm still not fully at my full battle fitness as yet, but I'm getting there, much better than I was the last time I did a video here. Something wonderful about this place in that I've been here countless times, and every time I come I seem to find somewhere new in it. Like there's a whole new waterfall that I've just found today, a whole new area. It's almost as if the kind of discovery of the forest is kind of echoed in the discovery of myself. Tommy at his most woo there, but it's just wonderful. It's just so beautiful. You're thinking recently, or over the last while, and I was talking to Vanessa, my wife, about it. That one of the things that when I die, what I was thinking of doing was that KLF pyramid thing, where you put some of your ashes in the big pyramid that they're doing. But another thing that's I would really like is, you know those things where you can put your ashes into like a bag and then a tree grows out of it? Imagine being here and turning into a tree in one of your favourite places in the world. I think that would be lovely. Anyway, it's not what we're here today to talk about. What I want to talk today about is, I suppose, kind of my unfolding of whatever's going on to me now over the last while, since that kind of utterly profound experience here in this forest a month ago, where I kind of reabsorbed or re-recognised the darkness and the child in my life, and how trauma had turned them into different things, and how that kind of then rippled out into my greater understanding of life and myself and all that. The other videos, I'll link them in the description if you haven't caught them. It might make a bit more sense. But what has kind of come out of it, and it's come out of it, kind of my discovery after that, is that there's a recognition of things I've always known that I haven't allowed myself to kind of express or to validate or to, have authority enough to say it. And there's this kind of sense that in an awakening, I suppose, and I think that's what's happening. I genuinely think there's an awakening experience happening, but I think it's been happening forever. I'm just aware of it now. There's just kind of a sense when people talk about awakening experiences or whatever, is a sense of already knowing this, and it's like not necessarily a rediscovery. It's not like you've forgotten it. It's just kind of, well, it's always been there, and you go, oh yeah, look, that's always been there. And it's not that that it's suddenly you've always been aware of it. It's always been there, but for some reason you weren't allowing it. And I think I understand a bit more why I wasn't allowing it. But first I should probably describe what that is. Well, one of the things, there's many kind of things that have kind of seem to pop out. There's this sense in me underlying everything, that everything is okay, that everything is okay. And not just like in my life, in the world, it's just like this kind of thing, it's all okay, even when it isn't. And I can't describe that to you without sounding kind of, I suppose, careless, insensitive to the suffering of the world, or as if the dispute could be, oh well, that's all well for you from your privileged position and all that. But that was there in me during the trauma I suffered. That was there with me through the terribleness, the great sadness, the heartbreaking, the terrible knife. It's not just me on the other end of it going, oh, everything's great, here I am, all sorted now. It's the recognition that it was always there underlying everything, but it was kind of, I wasn't allowed to acknowledge it. And why wasn't I allowed to acknowledge it? Because if I expressed it, the immediate response from the world around me is that you're not allowed to think like that. You're not allowed to think that. And then you're handed this big plate of fear. And here's how, to be a good person, you have to fear, you have to have all of these things. And it's not about the sense of okayness or this quality, whatever it is. It's not that it means that suffering is grand and cool and, let's spiritual bypasses, it's fine, I know you're suffering, but you're not really, this world is an illusion. It's none of that. It's, everything's okay. I can't describe it more than that. And I wasn't able to fully allow that, because that kind of insight, because I felt like if other people can't experience that, or other people are telling me that's wrong, and there's, you shouldn't feel like that, because having that kind of undercurrent or background hum is kind of makes you a bad person. So it kind of changed, and so that background hum became a kind of a sadness, because it was a loss of this thing. It was like a loss of this sense of connection with all of this, with all of you, with myself. And so there was this deep sense of mourning for this loss of this thing. And when I kind of went through that kind of shadow work with my, my tortured self, my wounded self, my inner critic, as it's called in therapy, I really just don't like that expression for it. And the child and stuff like that. This huge sadness, well, it was still all there, but it just turned into a huge compassion. Absolute compassion, still as sad as ever, but in a very different quality to it. In a very, not the hopelessness, I suppose, disappeared from it, or the finality or the fatality or the blame or something, the quality of it changed. The amount of it didn't change. I don't cry any less, but it's more profound in its kind of its sense. And there's a thing that happened, it was actually just happened last night for me. I was come out of my D&D session. I did a weekly D&D. Judge me if you want, it's amazing, I really enjoy it. I've only been doing it the last couple of months, but it's fantastic. It's the group of people I do it with. This is one of the most fun experiences I've had. It's just genuinely side-hurting laughter for 2 hours or whatever it is. But I just came on and said on Discord, we must do some sort of D&D at some point with the group, but it'll be hard to do because the time zones in Abraxas come up and go, aren't we all just LARPing? And I went, yeah, we are. And he sent me a message going, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Abraxas, I'm sure you won't. Are you going through another one of your, magic is bullshit kind of things? And I go, well, I can understand, why from what I said out, but it's literally the opposite. I've been LARPing as a normie this entire time, that it's like pretending that these insights, not deliberately, of course. I wasn't doing this deliberately. This is all kind of stuff that expanded out. Like I wasn't going, I have this sense within me that, I'm going to hide and not tell people. It's like I was pushed to the background. I can't even look at that because I'm not allowed. It makes me a bad person. I just have the sadness inside. I was going, no, the LARPing is that I'm pretending that doesn't exist. I'm negating all of my spiritual experiences, all of my awakening points. And I've had so many that I just kind of dismiss out of hand. Because if I said it to people, not you good people, you'd probably understand me, but if I said it to the people at large and certain friends that I've had, or if I said it to Spud, say, 5 years ago, it would have been, you don't actually believe that, do you? This kind of, and it's like going, maybe I don't. And I kind of have an issue with giving my truth over to a perceived authority. I've talked about it before. I'm definitely working through that, integrating having authority in myself around truth. And it's allowed me to see, or put into context, certain experiences I've had in my life that I can now see for what they were rather than degrade them or demote them, because they're not something that if I explained to someone else that they would understand, or they would in fact lampoon or dismiss or make fun of me for, or be condescending around. My very first kind of awakening experience that I remember, I was 17 and I was reading The Wave's End by Alan Watts. And kind of when I have these kind of experiences, they start like over there, off to the far, far right. And it's like a steam train, and you can just go, you hear it, and you can go, there's something coming. And it's happened a number of times like this. It's not a train, but it's like that. There's this thing coming, and it was creeping up me as I was reading the book, and I could go, this is interesting, this is happening. And then by the time I got to the end of the book, it was getting closer and closer and closer till it just engulfed me entirely, absolutely entirely. And this vision appeared in front of me of 3 levels, that I remember as 3 levels, but the very first level was really dense, sticky, very hard to move in, very kind of sluggish, and this was the material existence. And then it went up 1, and it felt like, this is all gone. And then as you moved in, no, there's still there's a stickiness still, it's much more refined, but it's still there. And then to the 3rd, where there was no stickiness whatsoever, it was just pure and utter nothingness, void, whatever, just pure ether, whatever it was. And it was a wonderful experience, and I assume I did say it to either to my family or definitely, no, I wouldn't have said it to my friends because I wouldn't have known who had been into this, but it obviously didn't register with them, not to blame them, why would they register with them, but enough that I just kind of let it go. A couple of years later, I had two amazing bliss experiences that I've never had since, although I kind of had it very similar on Saturday, down there with my family, down by the waterfall. Where I was living on my own at the time, and I was just came into my bedroom late one night, not even like one evening or whatever, and there was just an unbelievable sense of bliss, just absolutely engulfed and surrounded me. And I was just lying on the bed, and I was kind of totally so happy, so bliss, so whatever, and this kind of sense of you did it, you made it, you got here. I don't really know what that was. I mean, I could make things out, put things on it, but it was like, and that happened twice in the space of about 6 months. So there's a fly here, sorry for that. And there's other kind of experiences, but the one that I had not that long ago, a few years ago, about seeing how I play a victim in order to garner love and attention from people, but also as a way to not engage or not stand up for myself. It was kind of like the thing was like going, can't you see what you're doing to me, rather than just saying it to the people, and so it was this, and that again came like the freight train and just kind of exploded all around me. And kind of these things that there's a sense from all of these things that I was not allowing their importance. And when I hear other people talking about awakening experiences they had, that they, made them invincible in the Gordon White kind of sense, I was going, yeah, I've had them, but I didn't draw the same conclusion from you that you did. I had the blinking of consciousness on and off a number of times. I've seen with my eyes closed at least 3 times. I have visions of, when I was a kid, I was so scared all the time, because if I closed my eyes and put any sort of pressure on my eyes, I would see black and white movie quality images. But like the 1920s, 1930 movie quality, kind of sepia, of nuclear bombs exploding and destroying houses, and that was for years and constant, and it was very scary, particularly because I'd watched, far too early to have watched it, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, which is Orson Welles' documentary in the 80s about Nostradamus and how the world was going to end through this terrible 27-year war that terrified me. So there's all this kind of fear, there's a load of things kind of in my brain that are all connected, that if I said them to you probably wouldn't make a coherent type sentences, but it's this kind of sense of that, all of that oneness, dustness, all of that underneath it was kind of not allowed, hidden. I didn't allow it to do it, allowed to see it, allowed to, in a sense, enjoy it, or to let it permeate through my life, because I allowed the world, the universe, to hand me this big plate of fear, this big backpack of fear and shame, and you're a bad person if you think these things. Who are you to have an awakening experience? What right have you to do it? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're something special? Well, no. Then you're not having these experiences. I am having them. I've had a mental one recently where I know there's something in me that's also in that tree. There's something in me that's also in you, and it's always been here, and it's been here since the beginning of all time. And as Duncan Barford said to me recently, he says, you now know the answer to the koan. What was your original face? What did your original face look like before your parents were born? And it flummoxed me absolutely, and it's like, yeah, no, I do. Like, and I didn't think I did, but I did. I mean, it just sounds so weird if you haven't had these experiences, I suppose, or if I just sound like I'm being an idiot. And I was saying, it was also because I was talking to Duncan. Duncan's, check out, if you haven't read the Baptist Head trilogy books, do, and read Duncan's other books, The Occult Experiments in the Home and More Occult Experiments, and he's a great great book around the dark song. And this podcast is brilliant. All of these things, it's fantastic. Links in the description. But I was saying to him, it's going like, I'm so kind of skeptical about the whole thing, in that what I would need is for God to show up and tell me it's all true. And he just looked at me and he went, hasn't that already happened? I was like, shit. And that threw the doors wide open to all of it. And I've just been, blissed out. Not constant. I had a terrible Monday. It was an awful form. I got overwhelmed by a number of things happened Sunday evening together in a very short, safe time. And it kind of blew me apart. So it's not like I'm sitting around just blissed out all the time, but a lot of the time, and even when I'm not, there's that background. I don't know. I can't describe it. Very happy. I notice my behaviour has changed in many ways. In that yesterday, I spent 2 or 3 hours, maybe 2 hours, working on turbine syndrome for it all to be wasted because it didn't save. Ultimately, it was my fault. I had 2 versions of the same file open, so it wouldn't allow it to save. But that would have crushed me. That would have been proof that the world is shitty and that, it's out to punish me and hates me and all that. And it was still as terrible. I still felt the blow, but the quality had changed. And it wasn't a devastating. It was still horrible. It still had lost 2 hours of work. It's still a nightmare. But it was, didn't crush me or whatever. So what's my point? The other thing that I'm hesitant to talk about so many of these experiences. There was a great one about Radiance recently, that the whole bedroom lit up, surrounding light coming out of my heart. And the reason why I don't really want to talk about them is because of that horrible experience that happened where someone took the fixer card, did some magic with it, and said that the fixer told them that they had to pull their eye out. And we make a laugh about this kind of on the podcast, me and Spud, but it's horrifying. And I don't ever want to add to the nonsense. I don't ever want to say things that, because I'm aware all of this is UPG. UPG is unverified personal gnosis, means you've had this kind of experience and now you kind of demand or say that is what it is to everyone else and demand everyone else follow your kind of experience. And while my experience of, say, insights, awakening, whatever is the word that annoys you the least, follows certain descriptions of what other people have. It certainly does. It doesn't follow the Daniel Ingram model. It doesn't follow the mind illuminator. Or at least it doesn't seem to me that I don't fall into those maps in what it is. It could be just that it's so new to me that I can't recognise it. It's so new to recognising it that I can't recognise it. But it's just that video I did in this forest where I said, don't add to the bullshit. I don't want to add to the bullshit. And I was always very hesitant in saying things because there's so much in magic and New Age and spirituality where you can say whatever you want and get away with it, and you can destroy lives, absolutely. Like you can go, oh, well, if you get this, Reiki, shamanic, blue healing, it'll cure you of everything, and you can give up your antidepressants and you can, and this person's done, a weekend course or some sort of something, and, they're out as this, without having sorted out their own shit too, and, and like that's just picking on one thing, but there's so much just nonsense that I didn't want to add to it. But it's all unpacking all of these things, personal things where I wasn't allowing it to happen because I'd given my authority away. Not allowing myself to recognise these things because it's incongruent with the worldview that we currently have, and therefore makes you a bad person if you express it out loud. Also, who am I to have an awakening experience? Who am I? Well, I'm a person who's been doing it for fucking 30 years, meditating, well, on and off for 30 years, but definitely hardcore for the last 10 years. I've read every New Age book you can think of. I've read most magic books. And like, who am I? Who am I not to have had these experiences? If I don't have them, then Jesus Christ, there's no hope for any of us. And allow these things. So yeah, my suggestion to you, are you LARPing? But are you LARPing in the opposite sense? Are you not allowing your experiences out into the world? And it doesn't mean you have to go out and demand that everyone accept it, or you have to, turn up and be fratter, I'm enlightened as fuck, whatever your name is, or soror, I'm as awakened as can be, whatever. But in your own world, in your own sphere, in the part of the garden that you can tend to, and that includes your inner world and you, are you allowing it? Are you not expressing yourself fully because you're ashamed of what that means, or you're not confident enough, or you don't feel worthy enough? Who am I? But can have that around. It's spiritual impostor syndrome. It's literally that's what it is. And again, I'll point out, Abraxas said that to me recently, but it clicked just right there. It's exactly what it is. It's spiritual impostor syndrome, and it's what I had. And all of the things that I'm aware of now, the insights or whatever, they've always been there, always. But I'm allowing them, or I'm recognizing them. But the recognizing, that kind of sounds like I didn't recognize it before. I did. It's never not been there. Totally getting to the rambling stage at this point. But yeah, so good people. I had a couple of other things I wanted to talk around this, but we can talk about them in the Discord if you want to. You can join that up, the Adventures in Woo Discord. Spud's off again this week, so there's no podcast this week, but we'll get back on it next week. And yeah. May you be illuminated. May the dark places of your soul finally get the light. And may you then in turn shine your radiance and illuminate all around you in this wonderful garden that we have. Good people of the internet, may your best days be ahead, and be well.